I'm Sister Leonida Katunge, Sisters of St. Joseph, Mombasa, Kenya. I'm a theologian, specialization in sacramental theology. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. And I'm a member of the Pan-African Network on Pastoral Theology. This Congress is the second one after the first one that we had in the year 2019 in Nigeria, Enugu. The Congress had a theme on synodality, the vital church, women and children. And it was a great success because with the various presenters who are coming from all over the world, from the West, from Europe, and in Africa, we managed to gather together and bring our minds together as theologians and pastoral agents, Catholics and non-Catholics, to think about how the church should proceed, more so this time when we are celebrating the Synod of Synodality that actually began last year. Many things and many issues were tackled, and what came out clearly is the fact that the call of the Holy Father has to be adhered to, that we have to work together, we have to move together as a church. This church is for everyone. This church is for God. And in this church, we're being called to live as a unity, to live in communion, to be there for one another, and to help one another. Actually, the Congress came out clearly in the course of the discussions that working together means thinking together and having the same school of thought in terms of understanding the unity and living the wisdom of Ubuntu. This wisdom of Ubuntu makes a lot of sense in the church in Africa because the call of socialism, the call of living together, the call of being there for one another is very important, and the Ubuntu spirituality and wisdom is what we are being called to live. Matters to do with women also as part of the church were also highlighted, making actually a very clear understanding of the fact that women are part and parcel of the church and they should not be taken as second-class citizens or members of this church. They belong and their contribution can never be taken for granted. And also on the call on how to take care of children, especially against the abuses, more so sexual abuses, which were very much highlighted by most of the members who were part and parcel of this unity. They discussed the fact that sexual abuses were very rampant in the church, and if this has to come to an end, then there is need of sensitization, education, and there is the need of understanding that children should be taken care of because Jesus Christ himself had a dream for children, and that's why he said, let all children come to me.
My name is Martha Mapasure and I'm from Zimbabwe. I am currently doing my PhD in KU Leuven in Belgium. This is my first year. So it was actually an honor to be invited to the Pan-African Conference in Nairobi, Kenya. For my own presentation, I presented a paper on issues of Catholic sexual ethics because I've already been working with Catholic women on how they experience the teachings of the church and also their own lived experiences of issues of sexuality and reproduction. So in my paper, I was aiming to establish an overview of already empirical studies which have been done within the literature with Catholic women. My aim was to look at the common arguments or common strategies which they may share in how they experience these teachings and also in how they live their own sexuality. So I established this overview, and also my aim was to look actually at the issue of agency. So I also wanted to understand how in their own understanding and also in their own experiences, whether they apply the agency within their own experiences and also in the way they understand the teaching of the church. So in my paper, I realized that they do share common arguments, and also, but for the theme which actually came out was the issue of contraception or birth control. So that was sort of like the overarching theme which came out. So I realized that they do have difficulties or struggles or challenges in how they deal with issues of birth control. So, so within the whole conference, I also managed to understand that issues of sexuality are also important when you look at the issues of synodality and also vitality, which was actually the theme of the conference. So I actually found everything actually sort of like coming together when especially today when we finish it, I'm trying to integrate the whole thing, which is also helpful for my own work within my PhD studies. So it was actually a good experience, and also, like I said in the beginning, it was actually an honor. And I think what I take for myself is the importance of how I then apply whatever I've learned here within the communities, and also within the kind of work which I do, which is basically working with Christian women from other Christian denominations. So I think it will also be nice to continue having conferences like this, especially within the African context, so that we can actually look at the issues of the church within our context. In as much as we can learn from other contexts, it will be also important to really integrate whatever we learn within our context and also put it together.
My name is Sister Veronica Rope. I'm a sister from the local congregation in Kenya, Assumption Sisters of Eldoret. I am a lecturer here at Quair. I graduated here at Quair, and I'm a moral theologian. My PhD is specialization on women, the dignity of a human person, and integral human development. So for me, this conference was really touching. It was really moving by the fact that the Africans we are coming to discuss our own issues, discuss about our own challenges, and come out with our own solutions. This is, for me, moving and touching. I like the fact that we also talked about the youth, about the children and their future, the contribution of women in this bringing Africa to the level that we need to bring. We can share our values, we can share our beliefs, and we can share what we have and over to the world. So for me, this was a great conference.
I am called Sister Rosemary Nyirombe, a sister of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which is in Uganda. We work in South Sudan and Uganda at the same time. I presented a paper about the work I do in northern Uganda. The project started from a school which we started to receive girls who were once abducted by the rebels of the Lord's Resistance Army in northern Uganda, particularly in Gulu. I personally, with some of my sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, decided that it would be very important to accept these girls in our school, which is a vocational training school, which was started for women. And I thought this is a time when we would receive these girls in compassion and work with them and be with them just like their parents. I always tell people when they ask me, do you preach to these children? Do you preach to these girls? I say, I do not preach to these girls. I preach the gospel of presence. Being present with these people. That is only gospel. Because they know I'm a religious woman and I know their background. I know they passed through a very painful background. I know they could do anything, but I accept them, and that acceptance, that being with them, has changed many of them, has rehabilitated many of them. And after that, I thought, this is not enough. We need to work with these girls and introduce them to how they can become self-reliant, how they can be sustainable in the society, how the society can accept them again.
I have a strong feeling, tend to say that we need to understand the fact that we as members of the church, from this, from the end of our Congress here, we should not stop discussing these matters, and we should always focus on the fact, on understanding of the fact that what we've discussed is just too theoretical. We are being called to go out for praxis, and this practice should start with myself and with you, if at all what we've discussed has to be realized in our mission statement. Thank you, God bless you, and let us go out and evangelize. Thank you.